Hello, dear students. Myself, Pratibha Hingole. We are learning a novel Around the World in 80 Days. Page number 192 is already covered, and the first paragraph of 193. Let's continue with the second paragraph of page number 193. Open your book and just read the passage with me and try to understand the same. Fix, who found himself on the floor, did not utter a word. He had only received his deserts. Mr. Fogg, Aouda, and Passepartout left the custom house without delay, got into a cab, and in a few moments descended at the station. So, what is given here? Here, in this passage, Fix the detective had been knocked down during the scuffle. During the means Fogg hit him, right? And ended up on the ground. Fix got punished what he deserved and kept quiet. Meanwhile, what happened? Mr. Fogg, Aouda, and Passepartout hurried to the station without wasting time. That's what is given in the passage. Phileas Fogg asked if there was an express train about to leave for London. It was 40 minutes past 2. The express train had left 35 minutes before. Phileas Fogg then ordered a special train. So Fogg wanted to know if the fast train express was available to go to London immediately. The current time was 2:40 p.m. The train had already departed at 2 past 5 p.m. Since he missed the express train, he arranged a private or special train to reach London without delay, that is, without wasting time. At that hour, Fogg, having stimulated the engineer by the offer of a generous reward, at last set out towards London with Aouda and his faithful servant. Okay, wait. I missed one paragraph. There were several rapid locomotives on hand, but the railway arrangements did not permit the special train to leave until 3 o'clock. Locomotives, it means a powered railway vehicle used for pulling trains. So, many fast engines were ready and could be used. However, because of the railway's schedule and rules, the special train could not start its journey before 3 o'clock. At that hour, Phileas Fogg, having stimulated the engineer by the offer of a generous reward, at last set out towards London with Aouda and his faithful servant, that is Passepartout. So here, at that hour, it means at 3 o'clock, when the train was finally ready, Fogg encouraged the train driver to do his best by promising him a big amount, that is a handsome reward. At last he started the journey to London with Aouda and his loyal servant Passepartout. It was necessary to make the journey in 5 hours and a half, and this would have been easy on a clear road throughout, but there were forced delays, and when Mr. Fogg stepped from the train at the terminus, all the clocks in London were striking 10 minutes before 9. So, Fogg had only 5 hours and 30 minutes to reach London. If the railway had been free of interruptions, the trip would have been simple. Some forced halts slowed them down, and he finally arrived in London at 8:50 p.m. Okay, 10 minutes before 9. Having made the tour of the world, he was behindhand 5. He had lost the wager. So, after completing his journey around the globe, around the world, he reached London 5 minutes later than the deadline. Because those 5 minutes he thought he had lost the bet of completing the journey in 80 days. Phileas Fogg completed his journey around the world but arrived 5 minutes late. He believed this delay had lost him the bet. Okay, means he feel that he has lost the bet. Now chapter 35, in which Phileas Fogg does not have to repeat his orders to Passepartout twice. The dwellers in Savile Row, who have been surprised the next day, if they had been told that Phileas Fogg had returned home, his doors and windows were still closed, no appearance of change was visible. So the people in Savile Row, the street where Fogg lived, would have been shocked. No one expected that he had come back. After his failed attempt to win the bet from outside his house looked deserted. Means here nobody knows that he has returned. Nothing looked different. The house seemed exactly the same as when he had left. So, although Fogg had returned home, the people of Savile Row didn't know it. His house looked locked up and changed. Okay. After leaving the station, Mr. Fogg gave Passepartout instructions to purchase some provisions and quietly went to his domicile. So once Fogg reached London and got down from the train, he told his loyal servant Passepartout to buy food and other necessary items. Fogg himself went silently back to his house in Savile Row. He bore his misfortune with his habitual tranquility, though it had been ruined by the blundering of the detective. After being steadily traversed that long journey, overcome 100 obstacles, braved many dangers, and even found time to do some good along the way. To fail near the goal by a sudden event which he could not have foreseen and against which he was unarmed seemed truly terrible. So here he bore his misfortune with his habitual tranquility. It means Fogg faced his failure calmly, Shanti se ekdam. Though it had been ruined by the blundering of the detective, so his failure was not his own fault, but the result of detective fix mistake. After having steadily traversed that long journey overcome 100 obstacles, braved many dangers, and even found time to do some good along the way. So he had traveled the whole world, solved many problems, risked his life, and even helped others to fail near the goal because of a sudden event which he could not have foreseen and against which he was unarmed. But now, at the very last moment, he lost because of an unexpected incident that he could not control or prevent. And it seemed truly terrible. This felt like a very cruel or painful defeat for him. Okay, next one. But only a few pounds were left of the large sum he had carried with him. Means during the world tour, Fogg had spent almost all the money he carried in hand. The only part of his misfortune that remained was the $20,000 deposited at Baring's bank. It means his main fortune $20,000 was still safe in the bank. Means he still have that much money. And the other one means except that whatever he has lost it. The money has almost means he spent almost all his money. And this amount he owed to his friend at the Reform Club. But that same amount, $20,000, was the wager he had bet with the Reform Club members. So it didn't really belong to him anymore because he has lost the bet according to him. Okay. Then what else is given? See here. So great had been the expense of his tour that even if he had won, it would not have enriched him. It is probable that he had not sought to enrich himself, being a man who rather laid wagers for honour's sake than for the profit proposed, but his wager totally ruined him. So, here, Mr. Fogg means only because of this wager, what happened? That everything is ruined. Mr. Fogg's course, however, was fully decided upon. He knew what remained for him to do. A room in his house in Savile Row was set apart for Aouda, who was overwhelmed with grief at Fogg's misfortune from the few words he had dropped. She saw that he was meditating some serious project. Knowing that Englishmen governed by a fixed idea sometimes resort to desperate expedient of suicide. Okay. Means here it is said that a room in the house in Savile Row was set apart for Aouda. Means still there is a place to live. She was there in that, and who was overwhelmed with grief at her protector's, that is Mr. Fogg, misfortune. She is feeling very sad for the words which Mr. Fogg dropped. She saw that he was meditating some serious project. That's what she feels. Knowing that Englishmen governed by a fixed idea sometimes resort the desperate expedient of suicide. That is resort a desperate expedient. Okay. Passepartout kept a narrow watch upon his master. Means he is keeping watch. Though he carefully concealed the appearance of so doing. Means he is hiding the appearance of so doing. So he had found a bill from the gas company. क्या मिला उसको? A bill. First of all, what happened? The worthy fellow had gone up to his room. Loyal. This fellow gone to his room and then had extinguished the gas burner. बंद कर देता है. Which had been burning for 80 days. Okay, which was burning from 80 days. The feelings. He had found in the letter box the bill of the gas company, and he thought it more than time to put a stop to his expense. Means अभी खर्चा करना रोक दो, which he had been doomed to bear. The night passed. वो रात चली जाती है. Mr. Fogg went to bed. सोने के लिए चले जाते हैं. But did he sleep? Aouda did not once close her eyes. Passepartout watched all night like a faithful dog at his master's door. Means what? Here this Phileas Fogg locked himself in a room, and like a faithful dog, this Passepartout is keeping watch at his master's door. Mr. Fogg called Passepartout in the morning and told him to get Aouda's breakfast and a cup of tea and a chop for himself. He desired Aouda to excuse him from breakfast and dinner, at his time would be absorbed all day in putting his affairs to rights. In the evening, he would ask permission to have a few moments' conversation with the lady. So, in the morning, Mr. Fogg instructed Passepartout to serve the breakfast to Aouda. He told Passepartout to prepare just a cup of tea and a chop, that is a small meal, like a piece of cooked meat, for himself. Mr. Fogg politely asked Aouda to excuse him because he would be too busy the whole day settling his personal matters and financial affairs. So, however, he mentioned that in the evening he wanted to talk privately with Aouda for a short time. Passepartout, having received his orders, had nothing to do but obey them. He looked at his imperturbable master and could scarcely bring his mind to leave him. His heart was full and his conscience tortured by remorse, for accused himself, but bitterly than ever of being the cause of irretrievable disasters. Yes, if he had warned Mr. Fogg and had betrayed Fix's projects to him, his master would certainly not have given a detective passage to Liverpool, and then Liverpool, okay, and all would have been different. ठीक है. So here Passepartout obeyed Fogg's instructions, whatever instructions are given by him, but he felt very troubled. He saw how calm and composed Mr. Fogg was. Even in such crisis, even in such a situation, inside Passepartout's heart was heavy with guilt. What is that guilt? He feels that he has not told or he has not revealed that thing to Fogg. He blamed himself for Fogg's misfortune. He thought, if I had told Mr. Fogg about Detective Fix's real intention earlier, my master would never have helped Fix get to Liverpool. Things might not have been turned so badly. मतलब अगर उसने बता दिया होता तो ऐसा नहीं होता था. That's what he is feeling. Okay. Means here Passepartout feels guilty, blames himself for Mr. Fogg's supposed failure, believing his silence about Fix ruin everything. Now Passepartout could hold in no longer that feeling. My master, my Fogg, he cried. Why do you not curse me? It was my fault. So Passepartout feels guilty for Fogg's failure and expects Fogg to be angry with him. But Mr. Fogg remains calm. Instead of blaming Passepartout, he takes the blame upon himself. He tells Passepartout to go and pass a message to Aouda. In short, Passepartout obeys and delivers the message to her. I blame no one. Return Phileas Fogg with perfect calmness. Go. Passepartout left the room and went to find Aouda, to whom he delivered his master's message. Okay. Madam, he added, I can do everything. I can do nothing myself, nothing. I have no influence over my master, but you perhaps. Then what he says? Passepartout is speaking to Aouda. He feels helpless and says he cannot persuade Mr. Fogg to change his mind. He suggests that maybe Aouda could influence Fogg, but Aouda replies, see here, what influence could I have? Replied Aouda. Mr. Fogg is influenced by no one. So what she says, but Aouda replies that no one can influence Mr. Fogg. He is too strong-willed and always guided by his own fixed ideas. Means Fogg hopes the Aouda might convince Fogg to act differently. But Aouda knows Fogg's character. He is independent and does not let anyone sway his decision. Has he ever understood that my gratitude to him is overflowing? Has he ever read my heart? My friend, he must not be left alone for an instant. You, you say he is going to speak with me this evening. Now Aura is speaking to Passepartout. She wonders if Mr. Fogg has ever realized how deeply grateful she is to him and whether he knows her true feelings. She is worried about him, saying he must not be left alone, even for a moment, because she senses he may be thinking of something desperate about his loss. She confirms with Passepartout that Mr. Fogg's planned to speak with her that evening. Yes, madam, probably to arrange for your protection and comfort in England. Throughout this day, Sunday, throughout this day, that is Sunday, the house in Savile Row was as if uninhabited, and Phileas Fogg, for the first time since he had lived in that house, did not set out for his club when Westminster clock struck 11:30. Passepartout is telling Aura that Mr. Fogg talked with her is likely to plan for her protection and comfort. Once they return to England, Aura becomes thoughtful, reflecting on the situation and perhaps her feelings for Fogg. The house feels empty and quiet all day. Sunday becomes everyone is preoccupied. Even Phileas Fogg who always went to his club at the usual time, breaks his routine, showing how deeply the events have affected him. Why should he present himself at the Reform Club? Reform. His friends no longer expected him there, as Phileas Fogg had not appeared in the saloon the evening. On Saturday, the 21st December, at 9:15, he had lost his wagger. So, this passage talks about Phileas Fogg and his wagger from the novel Around the World in 80 Days. Fogg's friends at the Reform Club are no longer expecting him because he did not show up the previous evening. The line "he had lost his wagger," it means that Fogg failed to complete his journey around the world within 80 days. So he lost his bet and he had made at the club. So the mention of the exact date and time, it just emphasizes how precise and scheduled Fogg's life was and how unused it was for him to fail. It was not even necessary for him to go to his bankers for $20,000 for his antagonist already had his check in their hands. They only had to fill it out and sent it to the Barings to have the amount transferred to their credit. So Fogg did not need to go to the bank personally to get $20,000. His antagonist, already had a check from the bank. मतलब पहले से उनके पास क्या है, चेक है. ठीक है. All they had to do was fill in the details and send it to the Barings bank so that the money would be transferred to the antagonist account. Why? Because he feel that he has lost the bet, so he has to return the money, that much money, to his friend. So this shows that Fogg's loss for the formal and procedural. He didn't have direct control over the transfer anymore. Okay. Mr. Fogg therefore had no reason to go out, and so he remained at home. He shut himself in his room and busied himself in putting his affairs in order. Passepartout continued to go up and down the stairs. So Fogg stayed at home because there was no urgent need to go out. He isolated himself in his room and concentrated on organizing his business and personal affairs. Passepartout, his loyal servant, kept moving about the house, attending to the duties and ensuring everything. The hours. Okay. So yeah. The hours were long for him. He listed at his master's door, looked through the keyhole as if he had perfect right to do so. So as if he feared that something terrible might happen at any moment. So here what is given? This is about Passepartout, Fogg's servant. The time felt very long and anxious for him because he was worried about his master. He listened at Fogg's door and peered through the keyhole. ना keyhole से झाँक के देखा उसने. So here 2 hours were long for him. He listened at his master's door and looked through the keyhole. दरवाजे से मतलब keyhole से झाँक के देखा. As if he had a perfect right to do so. And as if he feared that something terrible might happen at any moment. So it's about Passepartout, Fogg's servant. The time felt very long and anxious for him because he was worried about his master. He listened at Fogg's door, peered through the keyhole, showing his curiosity and concern. He acted as if he had the right to know what Fogg was doing, and he was afraid that some disaster might happen. This highlights Passepartout's loyalty, anxiety, and overprotectiveness towards his master. Means we can say that Passepartout is anxious and restless, fearing for Fogg's safety, trying to stay close to him, and even if it means secretly watching him. Okay. Sometimes he thought of Fix, but no longer in anger. Fix, like all the world, had been mistaken in Phileas Fogg and had only done his duty in tracking and arresting him. But Passepartout, this thought haunted him, and he never ceased cursing his own miserable folly. Okay, so Passepartout occasionally thinks about Detective Fix, but he no longer feels anger toward him. He realizes that Fix, like everyone else, was simply mistaken, गलती हो गई उससे, about Fogg and was only doing his job by trying to arrest him. However, Passepartout blames himself and he feels guilty. He keeps regretting his own foolish actions, thinking he might have caused trouble for his master. Means here, Passepartout understands that Fix acted rightly according to his duty, but he remains anxious and self reproachable, full, feeling responsible for the misunderstanding. See, whatever is going on in, I feel all things I have explained line wise in detail. So, till here, means till this passage, miserable folly, till here we have completed this novel. We'll continue the same novel in our next lecture. Till then, goodbye.